high speed is right behind the company. Thelwell placed. Oh, he's done it!
Having was there as well. O'Neill and round up the way. Rangers look for a goal. You've got to do it. Wants to fire. Oh, it's brilliant! Scoots it back, John Lundstrom. 3-0 Rangers. This cross is a good one. That hits Libra.
Hello and welcome back again to another episode of We Are The Podcast. After a short hiatus, the boys are back. There's not really much to talk about Rangers-wise, wink wink.
Nah, it's been a quiet couple of weeks.
Obviously we talk to each other on the regular, on the daily, every couple of minutes or so in our group chats and stuff, but how have you boys been since the last pod?
Yeah, all good.
I've been alright. I'd
all
missed
good.
the last one. I think the last one you boys did without me, as I can't remember. I'm moving house soon, so I've got various different stuff going on at various times. I think I was clearing out some of my flat, so aye. But you've done well in my absence, I must say.
Well, we're getting pretty good at this. Yourself, Stevie, I think you are. Aye.
Yeah,
that's
all
fine.
all good, man. It's one of the ones where we did hope to do something during the international break, but just as Cheech said, he's got stuff going on. We've all had stuff going on, so it's never really aligned for us. But look, I mean, there's nothing much happened, so I don't think we'll have much to talk about, boys.
This will be a short one. We might as well just dive right in. Obviously, there's been 1,000,001 podcasts done in the past 2 or 3 days since the big news of Thelwell and Stewart getting the bullet. I know Heart and Hand did. I think you done 2 or 3 pods in a day. I know the Rabble done a few. So obviously there isn't much in the way of information that we can give that the big boys haven't already given. We'll just touch on it and just obviously discuss everybody's feelings and thoughts. Conspiracies around why they were let go, why now, why not previously, why not when Russell Martin gets sacked, did they not go with him, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, Cheech, you are a massive vocal point about Thelwell and Stewart. You are very anti-Thelwell and Stewart and have been for a long, long time. You were a happy boy?
Well, it's that bad that when Stevie put it in the group chat, I went right away, nah, don't believe it. Because it's one of the things that, you know, that way when you've got a rotten manager, we probably did it with Russell Martin times and times again. People go, oh, he can't continue, he's done that by the job, and you want to believe it, and it doesn't actually happen. We've done it with Mick Beale for a while before he got sacked. We kept going, right, surely he's going to get sacked now, he didn't get sacked. So you don't want to give yourself the hopes, as we say. So fuck the hope. But what I don't know, just didn't want to believe it, but then as soon as the statement came out, I was like, buzzing with that, to be honest with you. Like, do you know what? And I'll just say briefly on this, I know we don't want to take too long tonight because we've got a lot to cover, but see, to be fair, like we had Andrew Kavanagh, I think I watched his interview after it, and I don't think he at that point can come out and admit that they two were a mistake right after admitting that Russell Martin was a mistake, because if you admit too many mistakes at the beginning, then people are going to start to criticise him. Yeah. So I think they were sacked, right? It wasn't mutual. The club was stated that. Danny Rule said that in the press conference tonight. When people get sacked, he mentioned. So they got sacked, right? And they only got sacked because, one, they didn't do a good job, and two, they weren't trusted to recover from what they've done.
They get allowed to spend a lot of Kavanagh and Paragmath's money that, by all accounts, and Super Ali comes out all the time and says that they've spent horrendously. How many players did they bring in the summer? Was it like 13 or something like that? And we can say maybe 1 or 2 of them are half decent, not good, decent.
None of them improved the squad.
Aye. If anything, the majority of them took the squad backwards. Joe Rothwell.
Aye, none improved the first team, is what I should have said. None come in, replaced guys that left, and you went, this is an upgrade in that position.
Yep.
It really is as simple as that.
Obviously, a lot of the chat flowed online and in group chats and stuff like that that Danny Rule maybe used what people are calling his traffic light system for players. Whether he sees one as green a goer, yellow is one that can be worked on, or red is an absolute waste of money and time.
Lost cause, aye.
And there was far too many reds in that group of players that Thelwell and Stewart overlooked coming in. None more so than the £8 million Manchester Matey, which now is getting talked about that he's actually going to go out on loan in January, which is an absolute ludicrous bit of business perpetrated by those two. The news that I'm seeing tonight is that Thelwell Asgard is potentially going to be leaving in January because, again, he's not another one that has hit the ground running. Is there any from the group of players that come in the summer, Stevie, that you think have a future at Rangers?
It's kind of hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I've been pretty vocal on here that that the signings weren't that bad. It was all to do with Russell Martin. However, I think my opinion's kind of changed since Danny Rule came in because we've not seen an improvement really in any of them, have we? It's kind
Stevie,
of
I think
difficult.
you're right where Andrew Kavanagh was, to be honest. I think they blamed Russell Martin at the end. And then he
Yeah.
went, right, okay, so we'll hire somebody else and see how the same players do. And there was no improvement in Saturday there.
No,
So,
no,
really.
and there wasn't, and I'll come on to Kavanagh in a minute because I've got a wee bit that I do want to touch on with him. But I think when you look at, I think it's a sad state of affairs when Nadine Bayrami's coming on and he's doing far better than Thelwell Asgard does, and that's not a slight on Bayrami, but he's hardly set the heather on fire since he's been with us, has he? I mean, he's kind of, you could probably count on one hand the amount of good performances he's had for us, and he's been here for what, over nearly 18 months. So it's kind of, it's difficult. It's really difficult because you would have to say that Rule, domestically wise, is working a minor miracle than now be getting anything out of these players. There's major surgery needing done on that squad, and I wouldn't be adverse to none of them that were brought in the summer leaving in some capacity, because surely they can be replaced with better than that. The only one, I mean, obviously you want them all to work, but I would have maybe expected a bit more out of Miovski because he knows the league and whatnot. He had a chance when he came on Saturday, the header that went just wide, and then obviously it was his kind of touch that led to the second goal. But oh, we were all really excited when he signed in the summer, thinking he'll score goals for fun, and it just hasn't happened. And I don't know whether that's the system or our style of play or whatever, but yeah, it's just no worked, and it's been the same for pretty much the majority of them. You'll see the odd bit for people like, you look how good Gassama was at the start. He's fell off a cliff, you
Yep.
know. Joe Rothwell, where's he? You know, he's.
I wouldn't be
that
unhappy if we
tonight.
never saw him again, to be honest, man. Like,
No, but that.
for the get go, everybody was like, ah, he bossed it for Leeds, he done this, he done that. And he came up here and they had one good game or something like that. And I was like, ah, he's flattering here. He's flattering. And then immediately after that, it was just like another like brick in the wall, man, of absolute crap that we've had in the team for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the problem is that, and it's been said on plenty of other podcasts, but it's, you know, Stevie Wonder could see it. I think the problem that we've had is people have gone, let's go to the lower leagues in England.
Yep.
It's only Scotland, they'll scoosh it. And it just doesn't work like that. It's a different type of pressure playing for Rangers than it is playing for these middle of the road championship teams. You know, I mean, like, I know Leeds went up last year and Rothwell played a big part in that, but there's a different type of pressure playing for Rangers than there is playing for Leeds United, and that's no disrespect to Leeds United, but you know, like, at Leeds, you're not expected to win every game, regardless of whether you're in the Premier League or the Championship. At Rangers, you are expected to win every game you play in,
Yeah.
and Joe Rothwell just looks like, I mean, he was blown at his arse after half an hour near enough every game that he started for us. You know, and that's not a good look for somebody who's supposed to be the one that's kind of essentially
Pulling the
running at
strings.
midfield. Aye,
Aye.
exactly.
You need to wonder. There's an element of it, right, that you need to wonder. I think we've talked about this before. Talking about recruitment, you need to wonder. Like, there's an element of this of Were these boys sat down and told, right, this is what you're coming into? You expected to win every game. If you don't think you can handle that, then don't sign that contract.
Aye.
So
I
you've
think
got
a
to
lot of
think
that,
that should have been done if it wasn't.
yeah, a lot of that I
But even
think
if that,
was down to like the Rangers core that we had in the team, and this we'll get slagged for this. I might get slagged for this, but I think that's not been there since Jimmy Bell passed away. I
no,
think there's been someone
probably
there
not.
to been like that. This is what Rangers is about.
But then there hasn't been somebody in the dressing room who was here or part of any demonstrable success since then, really. So
Aye.
I get where you're coming from. Well, there isn't a coach, like they were talking about bringing a coach in and it ended up being Stevie Smith, right? I don't know discrediting the guy, but I don't know if that would have been my choice, to be honest with you. I would have rather had
Yeah,
somebody who probably had a bit more success when they were here,
an old
like as
head.
a player.
Aye,
You know what I
like
mean?
aye. I
But
feel like even like some of the foreign boys that we had that fell in love with the club. Like I'm not saying bring in Amoruso as a coach or nothing like that, but Amoruso's that type of ex-player who still loves the club. Arthur Newman, all them type of boys. Like Stevie Smith,
Alberts,
aye.
all these kind of guys.
Stevie Smith's good enough, but he's got an agenda in that he wants to become a head coach. He wants to become a manager, and I think that that's maybe played a factor in them
even
saying, right, we'll give Stevie Smith a shot at this.
yeah, I know you're going to think here it goes again, right? But even Kevin Thompson, man, like
No, totally, aye,
Kevin
totally,
Thompson played under Walter Smith, played was successful in quite a lot of old firm games, so he knows what it takes to win leagues, win old firm games. Went to a UEFA Cup final
aye.
2008 as well, so would have been a perfect candidate to come in. Neil McCann was the one that was talked about as well.
Alan Hutton,
Lee Wallace was talked about, and I know he wasn't particularly successful in the top division, and that too, but at the same time, he was still the captain for a long time.
yep, aye.
I'd
I
have been
obviously,
all over somebody like Kevin Thompson or Neil
aye,
McCann. Neil McCann, I was gutted, but I was really, really happy when he came in
Nah,
last year as
wasn't he?
part
But
of Barry's setup, because apparently all the kind of noise people that have been run about him say he's a really good coach and he knows the game tactically inside out. He's not. I think for his time at Dundee, we can see he's not suited to being a manager, but he would be a good coach.
mm,
And look, I'm kind of slightly different for you two. I don't really have a problem with Stephen Smith because I think he's been there. Danny Rules had him involved because obviously he was in charge of the games before
he's
Danny
taking the
Rules took
reins
the
on,
job,
isn't he?
and he is taking the kids, but it gives a pathway, more of a pathway for the kids for the first team because he's dealt with them. He kind of knows who are the decent ones and who can maybe handle it, being in and around the first team. Um, and he's obviously been impressed with what he's seen for Stevie Smith whilst all this has been going on. So
Yep,
I have no problem with that. Like I'm fully behind Danny Rule. If he makes a rip roaring after it, then fair enough, that can happen. But I feel a lot more confident with him in place and those two stooges above him gone
aye.
about the January transfer window because there's no doubt there's going to be money there to spend. They've already said there'll be money there to spend, but could you trust Kevin Thelwell to spend that money properly? Absolutely not. Based on
Can we even trust these boy with the money? Like obviously
well,
he's the chief scout or whatever
of
it is
course, but
whatever job he's been
look,
given.
in an ideal world, you'd have Robbie Thelwell and Dan Purdy gone as well, but Kavanagh came out on his interview on Sky Sports News and said, "Look, these guys will have a chance to prove themselves, and I've got no issue with that because they're only just in the door, you know." But see if we get to the 1st of January and you start hearing rumours of we're looking at this player for League One or the Championship, just get him in the bin, you know, like
Yep.
let. And I can see why a lot of clubs are going for this model of sporting director and all the rest of it. But for me, the final decision it can't be a collaboration of we sit down and go, who do we want? It should be who does Danny Rule want? He's the one that's picking the team. He's the one that's got to work with these players day in and day out. Let him sign who he wants. If he makes an arse it, then he makes an arse it. You can't say he's not been backed. I know
Yeah.
we can kind of go back to, well, look what happened when we let Michael Beale do that. But not everybody's going to make an arse hit. You know, before all this director of football and sporting director became fashionable, it was always the manager that bought the players.
Yep.
You know, like, and it there has to be a bit of leeway. Like, I don't believe for 1 second that Russell Martin was like banging down Thelwell's door to say, go and spend 8 million on Yusuf Chermiti. You know,
Nah.
like, and for Thelwell to come out and say, we looked at all the metrics and all the rest of it, and he was trending above everything. How can a guy who hadn't scored a goal in 2 years be trending above other people that you could have got for a fraction of the price, either in this country or for Europe? Like, case in point, Lauren Shankland's right away. You could have got him for nothing in the summer. Look what he's done at Hearts this year. He's banging the goals in. I'm not saying it would have worked for us because obviously we play a different style of play to them. But at least then you would have saved yourself £8 million and there's less risk involved if it doesn't work, you know, instead of buying a guy who hasn't scored a goal in 2 years. And even the one goal that he did score for us was an absolute shocker for the goalkeeper, you know. So
I think the Chermiti purchase is the sword that Thelwell and Stewart were ultimately struck down by. I think that Danny Rose went into them and been like, he's went to Kavanagh and been like, listen, these guys do not know what they're doing, and then obviously outline all the money that they've spent when the team is only just limping to victories in the league rather than absolutely blowing teams away, is maybe forced the hand of Kavanagh and Parag Maraf to be like, right, we need new change. That being said, obviously there hasn't been any kind of names through a bit. Like I don't really know names for directors of it. The only one I knew was Davy Weir, and obviously we missed out on him. I would have loved Davy Weir to come in because he done wonders at Brighton. I think that what we need to do, and you touched on it, Stevie, is we need to move away from this English market for our players. I don't think that market has been particularly good to us. Ryan Kent probably was the standout from that market. In
he's
terms
probably
of,
been the only one. He's
yeah,
been the only one. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else who's came to us for an English team and been they're amazing. You know, Gassama started off well. You've got to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's done all right. But the rest of
mhm,
them have come up for England in this window have been no better than what we had. You know,
yeah.
absolutely no better than what we had last season. You know, like you're missing out. You know, you're replacing Hamza Egerman with Yusuf Chermiti. Again, I'm going to stop mentioning him because I will just rant about him. You know, you're losing. They're replacing Leon Balogun, who was what 36, 37,
I'd
with
take him back now, man.
with Nasser Giga and Manny Fernandez, who, by the way, I think he'll be all right. He's one of the ones that I think can come in and do a job. I mean, he started 3 games for us. He scored 2 goals. 2 of them were brilliant headers. Maybe needs to work on learning how to deal with a ball over the top, as I'm
You
sure
could say
he's
that
going to
about
have
any
to
of our
learn as a
defenders,
game.
probably.
But
Um, but
um,
aye,
it's kind of yeah. I think there's maybe still a couple there that you can go. They'll come good, but we don't have we don't have the time to be signing 13 and 14 players and going, right, these guys will come good eventually. We need guys that will come in that are ready to start and will be a vast improvement on the shit show that we've already got. And that
aye,
seems like a lifetime away just now.
aye. It's again we find ourselves in a sad, sorry state of affairs as we seem to do every
Yeah.
season now for the past 5 or 6 years. Cheech, you're obviously the football manager guy in the group. What market do you think we should be looking in?
Well, you don't have to be playing fucking football manager to see where. Look at where good players come into the league or all
Because
leagues.
Aridis and Braga at Hearts, where did they find him? Know what I mean?
Where did Aberdeen find Miovski from originally? Do you know what I mean? Like
Aye,
these teams are able to find and look. They sign a lot of players that don't work right, but
yeah,
we should have a higher quality of scout that work for us than work for them. So we should have the recruitment team that are able to tell better if somebody is going to be a good player or and have a higher hit rate, depending on the fact that they'll be getting paid more money and should have more experience. So I don't see how we can't be looking. We should be looking all over the place, to be honest with you. Like primarily, look Scotland for a start, right?
yeah,
Because for. I mean, and this is a daft. It sounds like a football manager thing to say, right? But so you're playing football manager, right? You always look to try and sign the young Scottish guys for other teams that look as if they're going to develop and end up good. We don't do that at all. We don't even
It would
do
save
it.
us money. It would save us
We don't
money.
even do it when they're out of contract, like the boy Mullen. Was he not out
Aye.
of contract in the summer then? We didn't even bother.
See
Cheech,
that
I said exactly
Davy
the
Watson
same.
or something like that. Is he
I said the
his
same
contract's up
in
soon?
one of our earlier episodes. The three we should have got for this league were Mulligan when he was at Dundee and he went to Hibs for a compensation fee. David Watson for Kilmarnock, who's out of contract this summer in Shankland. All three of them would have cost you less than £2 million.
And then you
You
just pay
know,
the wages.
and you just pay the wages and give them a signing on fee. We've done the right thing with Lyle Cameron. I
Low,
think
which
Lyle
is also
Cameron's a good
low
player and
risk.
should be getting more game time.
They're low risk signings because you're only paying the wages. They don't work out. You go, right, okay, you've no spent
Yeah.
£8 million on them. You've no spent £4 or £5 million on them. And then you have to try and recoup some of that fee. You just have to go, right. And then you sell them on for probably a profit at that point. If you do that.
Yeah, we done it. We done it last year with Connor Barron. We done it
Look,
a few years back with Ryan Jack. These are all things you should always look. If you don't have the players in your academy that are ready to step up, you should go right. Who can we take for these
Your academy's been a
teams
waste
in our
of money,
league?
man.
Of course it has. Of course it has because it's not been ran properly. I mean, when was the last time we had anything come through for there that yielded
Patterson.
anything other than Nathan Patterson, and before that was what Alan Hutton,
Alan
Danny
Hutton.
Wilson,
Aye.
these guys, So it's not even like you can go, there's a conveyor belt there. Look at these teams like
That's what we were
Ajax.
promised.
Of course, look at Ajax. Ajax used to be amazing for it. They had Frankie de Jong, Donny van de Beek, all of these guys came through and were sold for big money.
look, without wanting to sound like a proper Rangers dad about it, right? But how many players did we sign for Scottish teams when Walter Smith was the manager? Kevin Thompson.
All the time.
All
At
the
least
kind of
one every
players,
summer.
right? We signed a lot of players for and they might
Boyd.
not be, and they might not be absolute world class top beaters, but they know what it means to play for Rangers anyway, whether they're a Rangers fan or no. But they know what it means to play for Rangers or Celtic. They know what the league's like. They know what to expect playing all the teams. They know the pressure to expect as well because they've seen it firsthand. So it is honestly kind of a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. And you kind of go, look, football manager as a reflection of real life. I get that, right? You're not just going to be able to sign everybody, but you're not telling me if that boy Mulligan had a choice of going to Hibs or coming to Rangers and playing games at Rangers, he would have picked Hibs. We would have paid him more money. He'd have been playing in front of 50,000 people every 2 weeks. He'd have been playing in European games. With a chance of winning the league.
There's no debate about it, mate. There's no debate about it. And if
Unless he's
had
had the boys that died in the Will Celtic fan, and even then, for some people, that doesn't seem to bother them. If you look at Greg Taylor and people like that are an example of that, but
well, look at Neil McCann as well. Neil McCann was a Celtic fan. Played for us, scored twice at Parkhead
Callum
to win
McGregor.
the league.
Callum McGregor's apparently one.
Well, their last two captains are Rangers fans. Scott Brown and Callum McGregor grew up Rangers fans. Look latterly at Scott Allen as well when we had that whole debacle with Hibs. Scott Allen signed for Celtic. He's a Rangers fan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of. I don't think it's all well and good us going, oh, if I was a football player, I wouldn't sign for them. It's a different kettle of fish when it's put in front of you and you think I've got a chance of winning the league here and I've got a chance of playing in Europe. You're probably going to think about it
generational wealth, I know, man. Like you could set your wains up for years, your wains for years.
And that's exactly the reason why Billy Gilmore went to Chelsea. Because he's like, well, I can set my mum, dad, and everybody else up for life here just by this one move. Even just be signing on fee, never mind his wage.
Yeah.
So it's kind of you don't blame these guys for going after the money, and if they're successful while they're there, then fair play to them. It's kind of it is what it is at the end of the day. But we don't. Good Rangers teams and great Rangers teams have always had a Scottish core, and we do not have that, and we haven't had it for God knows how long.
Yep.
We don't have enough guys who've been there and done that in the team. It's just these guys seem to think that when they come to Rangers, that's the end goal.
They've made it. Aye.
And it kind of, it's kind of, yeah. It's a bit of a difficult one. Look, you have to. I'm a big believer. Come January, any manager that comes in, and I said the same with Gio, Lamont, and Beale. these guys have to be allowed to build their own team, because you can't fully judge them on the shit that's already there, because they've got already made it. Not that they would use it as an excuse, but they've got it ready made where they can go, well, it's not my team. I'm just trying to do the best I can, you know.
That
So
just seems to be the same thing for the past few managers now, and it's happening too often that when a new manager comes in and it rolls around time for a transfer one day and they don't get the players they want, they can then just turn around and say, "Well, I can't work with what I've got," and it's just every manager we've had for the past 5 or 6 years has had that same excuse, barring Steven Gerrard, who was here for longer than any of the other managers that have come after him.
Steven Gerrard was a slightly different thing though, because we had so many players out of contract, so he had to go and mould his
Yeah,
own team, and we were thinking, well, that's going to take time, but it did. European wise, that yielded instant results. You know, I mean, we knocked out Maribor in the qualifiers for the UEFA, well, the Europa League, who were a perennial Champions League team at the time. We had no right, with the state that our squad was in, to beat them over two legs. It just shouldn't have happened, and we did. And then we go into Europe that year. We've got Rapid Vienna, Villarreal, and Spartak Moscow. And we gave, as much as we never got out the group, we probably should have got out the group. I mean, we were 1-0 down to Villarreal away from home after, a minute, and ended up drawing 2-2 in Spain with them. Beat Rapid Vienna at home. The turning point was drawn with Spartak Moscow at Ibrox. You know, we should have beat them that night, and it just didn't happen. So you could see, I think the difference between Gerrard and the rest of them was you could see what was happening,
mm,
and as much as I think COVID probably was a blessing in disguise for Gerrard, because he looked like he was going to be out the door, because we were on such a terrible run of results until the season got stopped. You know, like lost away to Hearts in the cup, lost at home to Hamilton in the league, and it was just kind of COVID essentially saved them. But the difference there was it gave him time to kind of sit and go, right, what do I need to do here to fix this? And it was instant the fix. You know, we won the league without losing a game, and
yeah,
conceded next to no goals that season. You know, like it just felt like every game you were going into, we're going to win this. We've not had that feeling since then. I mean,
yeah,
you kind of had that feeling with Gio on the Europa League run, but and as much as getting to Seville was great, it was to the detriment of our league form. How many times did we go away from home or at home in Europe and get a big result and then either drop points in the league on the Sunday? You know,
aye,
it's kind of, you kind of can't really have it both ways when you play in Scotland. You know, it's different if you're playing in the EPL and you've got bags of money and bags of squad depth and all the rest of it. But it's just, I think we need to get our domestic form in order before we can kind of start going, right, let's see what we can do to take the next step.
aye,
And that's why I'm kind of saying, as much as you want to beat teams in Europe, for me, the weekend's more important than Braga on Thursday night. You know, because Europe's gone. It's gone. It doesn't matter whether we win the rest of it. It's gone. We have to focus on the domestic front, and especially with Hearts looking like they're just going to bottle it now. You know, I don't see them. I think they'll fall away. So it's up to us to try and catch Celtic at that point, isn't it? So yeah, get the domestic form in order, which Rule seems to have done. It's not been pretty, but you can't win every game 3 and 4-0. You have to win ugly at times, and he has been doing that.
yeah,
So we just kind of need something tangible to kind of cling to. You know, like you'd love for him to go to Parkhead on the 3rd of January and come away with a win. But at this point in time with this group of players, can you see that happening? Because I don't, you know, and that's not down to Danny Rule, that's down to the shit show that was left behind with Russell Martin and Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart.
yeah. So that takes us on to tomorrow night's game. Obviously we had Livingston at the weekend there. It was 2-1. Nothing happened. Wink, wink. Um, the game tomorrow night, Braga Ibrox. As you've said, Steve, it's pretty much a nothing game. It's probably going to be another European defeat, I would imagine. Was it you that said to me the other night that they beat Celtic recently as well?
They beat Celtic at Parkhead. They're sitting fifth in the Europa League phase. So they're playing well. We're sitting rooted to the bottom. There's only us and Nice on 0 points. You'd like to think that we could maybe take something, but I don't. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come to Ibrox to turn us over.
Aye. You're going to the game, aren't you? You said.
No, I'm not. I was
I never.
going to be going, but I'm just getting over the flu, so I don't think sitting at Ibrox in sub-zero temperatures is a good idea for me.
Aye. There was a wee bit of news today that due to his injury, Cheech Cornelius has been pulled out of the Europa League team and replaced by Dujon Sterling. A good replacement. I like Sterling. I've got a lot of time for Dujon Sterling. If he's fit and ready to go, then I'm hopeful that we might see him tomorrow night.
I don't know about that, to be honest with you, because he did get a start for the under-19s the other day, but by all stretch he was abysmal. Gave away a penalty and was at fault for a
Jesus.
goal. So
He's rusty. He's rusty.
I know. I'm not getting on at the guy, but genuinely, for the reports what I've seen, he was completely rusty, which he's going to be. He's been out for that long, so I reckon it's more. It must be. It says more probably about Cornelius than it does about Sterling. Put it that way, I think.
So the game tomorrow night, as I say, it is at Ibrox. As Stevie said, we are rooted to the bottom of the table. There is no way out of this for us. So I reckon that we probably might see a completely different team for Daniel. We'll probably not see a lot of his regular starters. He might just treat it as a way of getting some minutes and legs potentially, or he might have a wee bit more respect for the opponent.
He might do, but at the same time, really, if we're focusing on
can
the
I
league
blame him?
games, if we're focusing on the league games, you've got Falkirk at the weekend on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I know I don't want to be disrespectful, but I know it's Falkirk, right? But at the same time, if we're going, all we can focus on is the league now, you would probably rotate a few players in the European game, to be honest with you, and try and keep your guys who you think, or most of your guys you can, who you think are going to start on Sunday.
Aye. So that we can't really go much more into detail about Braga. To be honest, I don't know much about any other team or anything like that, or what have you. But so, any point in giving a score prediction?
I wouldn't be
What would
surprised, to be honest,
what
if
would you like to see?
if the boys played
If
a
we
wee
won,
bit better.
and we actually won.
than
Aye, that's
usual.
the one that we won. Aye.
They're seventh in the league now, so they're not having a great season either. I mean, it's a good league, but there's probably about 4 or 5 teams that you will have mainstream heard of in that league.
Yep.
But they're sitting seventh now, so they're not having a great season either. So, but again, so neither are other teams that we've played, and we've still not done well. So I'm not crediting that as meaning that we're going to do anything special tomorrow night.
So I think we probably just look ahead to the weekend. We'll probably do I don't even know there'd be much point in doing a post match for Braga unless something mega happens. We might just roll it into the pre-match for Falkirk.
It is, to be honest, it is pretty much a nutting game, to be honest with you. Like, because we're at the point where it doesn't really matter. 3 points would be, I suppose, nice, but it doesn't really change anything in the grand scheme of things.
Gets us a wee bit of money, doesn't it? If we at least get a win.
There's that. I think you're 400 grand for a win, 200 and or something for a draw, maybe. But that might be the Champions League one. I can't remember exactly, but you're right. It's a wee bit more money, I suppose. But and probably at this rate, we'll take all we can get, considering they're not getting a lot of people buying tickets for the game. So,
well, hopefully now that the Three Stooges, Thelwell, Stewart, and Martin are all gone, we might see a wee bit more harmony in the stands at least. Might actually get back to singing songs about the football and the club rather than Thelwell go to France or whatever they were singing. So I think that's probably a good place to call it there, guys. Obviously, a couple of weeks off. I've come back with a half-hour banger talking about everything and anything. We'll probably be back towards the end of the week for we'll touch on the Braga game and probably look ahead to the Falkirk game more than anything else. If any further news comes out, any more removals of personnel or additions of personnel. But it's good to be back. Thanks again, everybody who has followed and liked us and listened to us and given us comments, even negative ones. Everything is engagement at the end of the day. We encourage every form of conversation. Please spread this to your friends and let everybody know about us. because we enjoy doing this. We enjoy talking about the Rangers, even when times are bad. And we will see you for the next one.
Aye,
Bye.
and to be fair, we've actually had some decent numbers as well. Actually, just to
Aye.
add that in, I think I checked the other day just because I know we've not done a pod for a couple of weeks just to see where we're sitting, and we're routinely between 200-300 views. And see for just a couple of guys who've only started this a month ago or something,
Aye.
maybe.
Yeah.
Just taking the conversation we have in private and just airing it in public, really.
With less swearing.
With less profanities. No, it's been good. I've been enjoying it.
Aye. So we'll call it there, and we will see you later. Cheerio, bye.
Cheers, folks.